Hello and welcome, my dear viewers, to Infamous Animation, where garbage comes to life. Mel Brooks has had quite an interesting career, hasn't he?
And the winner is Mel Brooks for the producer.
This World War II veteran became best known for his carefully made comedy films, which were mostly made to spoof popular movie genres. Almost every one of them is considered a classic. Well, up until the last quarter of his filmography. Beginning with Life Stinks, a rare non-spoof movie from him, critical and popular reception began to decline. The only later movie of his that's really grown in popularity is Robin Hood Men in Tights, a movie that I think certainly has its moments, but I've always considered it a comparably weaker movie. But it wasn't until Dracula Dead and Loving It that people were mostly all in agreement that it just wasn't really that funny. Mel retired from directing after that, and perhaps that was for the best. The suspicion was that he was losing his talent with age, and maybe he bowed out suspecting the same thing. That was it from him for a while, until the next decade when his first movie, The Producers, was retooled into a Broadway musical, and it became a massive hit. Sometime later, another movie of his, Young Frankenstein, was given the same treatment, and was nowhere near as popular. And just recently, with the release of the new Star Wars movie, Mel talked a little bit more about wanting to make his first sequel to one of his most popular movies, Spaceballs, which is tied with Young Frankenstein for being my favorite of his movies.
If you had told me 10 years ago that a new Spaceballs movie was going to be made, I probably would have been ecstatic. Nowadays, I'm nowhere near as excited about his new projects, and one of the biggest reasons for that is what he did with Spaceballs in the meantime. Case in point, Spaceballs, the animated series. Spaceballs!
Released in 2008 and aired on the G4 network, I assume this cartoon was made to capitalize on the growing success of Spaceballs, which Mel has stated was his highest seller in DVD sales, along with Robin Hood Men in Tights. Now, Spaceballs is the only one of his movies to have more intricate Blu-ray releases now, so I'm willing to believe that through home video sales, Spaceballs may be his most profitable movie. But despite the fame of that movie, the cartoon was poorly received enough that it only lasted one season, with only 4 episodes being released on DVD. Let's start off with the theme song, which is written by Brooks himself.
They will show no pity, there's no helping hand. They'll destroy your city, they'll destroy your land. Run for shelter, helter-skelter, they are in command!
The song is trying to desperately warn how powerful the Spaceballs are, but as we'll see from the show, they are hardly anything to fear. I don't know why the song tries to be so, well, serious, especially when a different song from the movie about how fearsome the Spaceballs are is so much more lively and fun. But what works even less are the visuals on screen. It shows the various characters in dressing rooms all being contacted by Yogurt, the Yoda character, that they're ready to go on air, and they all rush to the stage. It's far more lighthearted than the song is, and I don't think they match all that well with each other. Also, if they are all shown to be actors, then where are their stunt doubles? Since I want to focus on how bad the writing is, I'm just going to say for now that the animation is crap. I'll get more into it later, but I've got a lot of issues to deal with before I talk about how bad the visual quality is.
Now, I've got a question for you. What do you think an animated series based on Spaceballs would be about? You might be thinking to yourself, well, Shogun Gino, that sounds like kind of a dumb question. Spaceballs was a parody of the original Star Wars trilogy. It would make sense that an animated series would expand upon that premise. After all, Star Wars has such a huge expanded universe, it makes it a ripe target for parody.
I thought the same thing when I came to this show, and the first episode would seem to support that idea, since it is, fittingly, a parody of Phantom Menace, showing Dark Helmet's origin. But then you watch the second episode, and it's about getting sucked into a video game world, with grotesque proxies of famous video game characters. And then the third episode has them in a Lord of the Rings spoof, and then Jurassic Park, and then Harry Potter, and then Pirates of the Caribbean. You get the idea. Only the first episode is actually a Star Wars parody. Every single other episode is a parody of some other genre or popular movie. You may wonder how the movie itself could lead to a series with such varied scenarios. Well, according to Wikipedia, there's a special pilot episode that was released only on DVD that's a sort of retelling of the movie, so that it leads into the series. But according to all the info I could find about the only DVD release, it doesn't seem like that episode is on there. Regardless, the show is a retcon to the events of the movie, Lone Star and Vespa aren't married, and Planet Spaceball isn't about to run out of air, and it's been renamed Planet Moron for some reason. Also, the rings of the Schwartz, while never strictly supposed to be just like lightsabers, are treated more like Green Lantern rings in the show.
So what we have are Star Wars parody characters parodying other characters in other media every episode.
Perhaps at first glance you might not think that's such a bad idea. After all, Mel Brooks is known for his spoof movies. Well, I'm sure in the hands of writers more in tune with Mel's style it probably could have worked, but that's not what we got. Instead, we have spoofs more in line with the Seltzerberg comedies of the same era as this cartoon, with references as jokes, deadly violence towards beloved/hated characters as comedy, and a lot of lowbrow sexual humor. And let's be clear, Mel Brooks was never shy of sexual jokes in his movies, but he knew how to use more clever innuendo, and while he wasn't exactly subtle with his humor, he tended to have a lot more finesse in what he chose to put on screen, or what the actors spoke, and he never overloaded his movies with that kind of humor.
Many online critics have lamented the problem of giving comedy films and shows negative reviews because they always say there are only so many ways that you can say that this isn't funny, or saying, well, comedy is all subjective anyway, but along with the description I just gave, I personally have no qualms telling you why I don't think this show is funny.
First off is the sexual humor. In the first episode alone, we have Dark Helmet getting knocked unconscious from overinflating a robot stripper's breasts. We have young Dark Helmet working on building and selling a titanium J-cup bra, and then winning a pod race in a vehicle that also looks like a bra, and also revealing not Padme's nipples through her shirt by accidentally getting water on her. And that's just the first episode.
Well, anyway, Princess, we're honored you've joined us for our virgin voyage around the tip of Areola.
Hope you brought a jacket, folks. It gets a bit nippy there.
It's particularly bad when you consider that Brooks has a boob joke in pretty much all of his movies, and they're all better than this. Even his worst movie had a good boob joke in it.
But you see, I'm British.
But so are these.
That immaturity extends to the designs of nearly every female character in the show. With the exception of Yogurt's wife, they all have interchangeable Barbie doll figures. I mean, Daphne Zuniga is quite a lovely lady, but she's not exactly packing double Ds here. And when it's not boobs, it's humping. They show Barf's home planet, with inevitable humping in public by the half-man, half-dog population, and when they parody the opening of Goldfinger, a passing-by duck immediately tries to have sex with a rubber ducky on Lone Star's head. Next is the use of puns. Mel Brooks had lots of verbal and visual puns in his movies, and they try to replicate that here, with the key word being try. You can see the failings right in the episode titles. Lord of the Onion Rings? Yeah, I remember making that same exact joke back when I was in middle school. This show's humor is so juvenile it can't even be called sophomoric.
No, we need a name that's witty at first, but that seems less funny each time you hear it.
Since nearly any example I can show you is pretty much identical to each other in terms of quality, let me just say that the pun quality is about as good as a typical 80s toy-driven cartoon. Ever since I first tried to watch more cartoons from that decade, I pretty much decided that cheap puns were my mortal enemy. So when I say that Spaceballs the cartoon has similar puns, I want you to know exactly what I mean. The worst part is that I saw a couple decent puns in the show that really did remind me of Mel's movies, but then each of those puns are immediately milked just long enough to the point where they stop being amusing.
Ah! The tower isn't guarded.
Yogurt! How did you get in here?
The tower isn't guarded.
The tower isn't guarded?
Nope, the tower isn't guarded.
What? Major Bleep Hole!
Yes, sir.
Did you know our tower isn't guarded?
Yes, sir. I know our tower isn't guarded.
Well, why is it not guarded?
It's not guarded.
So it is guarded.
No.
Along with the ruined puns, I saw a number of jokes look like they got cut short. Quite a few scenes end with a character looking like they're setting up a funny exchange, but then the camera cuts away to the next scene, making me wonder if a piece of dialogue got cut off, since it always felt like some other character was meant to finish a joke that the other character started. The result is a number of scenes leaving me saying, wait, was that supposed to be the joke? Take the Video Game World episode, in the ever so hilarious method of generating comedy by killing beloved characters. When Barf enters a game world, he lands on Mario, fatally wounding him. What does the plumber choose to say in his last moments of digital life?
It's okay. I spent my whole life stomping turtles, and now I know how it feels. Oh, please, please, tell my brother I love him, but he still owes me a quarter. Oh.
His dying words are that Luigi owes him 25 cents. Is that supposed to be the joke? Was that really the best they could do? Another strange failing is the skewed sense of plot priorities. Would you believe that in the first episode, Yogurt's training style to teach the Schwartz is by teaching his students the art of dirty dancing? Yeah, I doubt that the Star Wars and Dirty Dancing fanbases have a lot of overlap. And would you believe that, in the Jurassic Park episode, they focus half the time to making satirical remarks about the use of steroids amongst baseball players? And furthermore, would you believe that those moments are all better than when they try to sincerely parody Jurassic Park?
You must escape to the one place juiced athletes can't get into.
And where's that, Yogurt?
The Hall of Fame, of course.
In fact, that's pretty much how it is for the entire series. The parts of the episode that don't really try to parody anything, they tend to have the better jokes.